already covered the first 2 weeks of my debut novel sales and marketing in previous videos, but how did the novel do for the first full month? Let's take a quick look. Hello writers in training, my name is Shannon, writing under the pen name S.C. Houston and author of Blood of the Lily. And welcome to my channel where I show writers like you how to develop your writing skills and self-publish your work. Many of you have followed me through the journey of coming up with an idea for my debut novel and writing the story to the point of publishing and marketing it. And I really appreciate all of you, especially since I'm one subscriber away from hitting 100. Now let's continue this journey by looking at what has happened with my debut novel in its first full month of life. Again, I will look at my KDP dashboard to see the total number of ebook and paperback sales and royalties earned since the launch of the novel. And I will also use Amazon's new beta product for authors, the new KDP reports, to see the total number of KENP, Kindle pages read, and the estimated royalties. After choosing all the appropriate markers in the drop-down categories on my KDP dashboard, picking October 26th through the 30th of November, I then scroll down and click Generate Report. By the way, I picked October 26th and not November 1st, as my paperback went live a couple days early before the official launch, and I had a few sales. Additionally, some of my ebook pre-orders went through on October 31st versus November 1st. On the report under Combined Sales, I can sum the total number of units sold, 46 ebooks and 31 paperbacks, which comes to a total of 77 books sold, for a total royalties earned of $111.33. If I click over to the KENP tab, it shows me the total Kindle pages read of 896. Now I'll switch over to new KDP Reports Beta to compare the KENP figures. First, let's look at the numbers under KENP read for the time period of 1 to 30 November. I don't need to go earlier on the date for the Kindle pages because Amazon didn't make it available any sooner than my launch date of November 1st. Under KENP read, it also shows 896 page reads, the same as the KDP dashboard. Now going to Royalties Estimator with the same dates, I see estimated royalties for just the KENP is $4.02. Adding $4.02 to my ebook and paperback royalties of $111.33, I have made a total of $115.35 in earned royalties since the launch of my debut novel for the first month on Amazon. However, we need to add in my physical book sales that I personally sold. At my launch party, 3 book sales, each netting $4.20, came to a total of $12.60 in sales. I've also sold 2 more books in my 3rd week, so that adds another $8.40. Combined with previous earnings, I've made $21 in physical book sales. In total, I've sold 82 books and have had 896 Kindle page reads for a total earnings of $136.35. Before looking at the final total since the launch of my debut novel in its first month, if you're finding this content valuable, please work out that like button. Now let's look at costs and my final damages. As a reminder, I spent $703.36 in producing my book, which includes things like cover design, hiring an editor, and paying for a beta reader. There is one thing I forgot to include in the cost though, which I didn't really remember until I watched Katie Young's video, How Much Did the Vault Cost to Publish? In her video, she broke down the cost of her debut novel, sort of like I've done in my videos, and reminded me that I paid for 3 author copies. Thank you so much, Katie, for reminding me. By the way, Katie is an urban and paranormal fantasy author who is new to AuthorTube. And on her channel, she's detailing her experience of publishing her first novel, The Vault, which came out only a week after mine. Check her out if you have a chance and welcome her to the community. I use the author copies to check like the formatting of the book cover and the interior formatting, as well as any other editing that I wanted to fix on here because it's never going to be perfect. And the cost of each of these 3 author copies was $3.24 a piece, and the shipping costs were relatively low for the first 2 because I was not in a rush in getting them. However, in seeing how my cover was not perfect, I rushed the last order because my publish date was looming overhead, and that really upped my shipping costs for the 3rd copy. So all 3 author copies came to a total of $28.74. Added to my previous production costs, I have a total of $732.10 spent in producing my book. I didn't pay for any other book marketing past the second week of the month except for Amazon ads, and the new spend for the ads came to $1.64. Adding that to my previous marketing spend of $326.26, my new total is $327.90. If we take the total royalties earned and subtract the production costs and marketing, my grand deficit in overall damage comes to $923.65. Although this figure could hurt, I don't see it as a failure. It's more like failing forward. I'm learning things about what works in marketing and adapting my plans. I never went into publishing my first book believing that I would make my money back in the first month, although that would have been nice. Instead, I see this as a long-term investment. I plan to continue making more monthly update videos on my debut novel, with additional videos during the first week of my second book's release. We're running another round of book promotions. My second book will be published January 3rd, so look for those videos in the week after. Also, I'm currently looking for ARC readers for the next book, Soul of a Rose. If you're interested, you can either sign up through the link in the description box below, which should be there in the next 2 weeks, or reach out to me through any of my social media links. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and happy writing!